But looking back on it now, the advice I give younger players and younger coaches, if you're ever trying to do something great, you want to do something really, really successful. And if you just run really, really fast towards that level of greatness, if you just run towards that, run towards truth, run towards accountability, and you start looking around and seeing who's keeping up with you, that's going to tell you who to invest in and who to work with. Because I saw like some really good potential in him, but I wasn't afraid to tell him he wasn't working hard enough. I wasn't afraid to tell him like he was screwing around as a freshman off the court a little too much. And he wanted to be great. I was a young assistant. I wanted to be great. We are both just running that direction. And so we started to develop a level of trust.
Welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. Today, we're going to take you into the world of basketball player development, coaching player development. One of the real buzzwords in basketball, we've had Drew Hanlon on the show before. We've had really some of the elite people on. But Phil Beckner is one of the very, very best. He's been doing it for years. He's been Dame Lillard's, basically performance coach since he was in college at Weber State, where they worked together as coach and player. And still to this day, he trains Dame. They run one of the most elite player development camps for pro players and college players in the summer in August in Phoenix. And if you haven't ever have a chance as a player to get to go to it, or as a coach to go and observe it, it's a must do. He is one of the very, very finest. He understands everything that has to go into making of a great player. Most importantly, he teaches players how to attain success. I think you're really going to enjoy Phil. I know you will, because he is a coach. He started out in very, very humble beginnings as a coach in high school, and all the way up to a non-paid assistant in college, all the way to being an elite NBA player development coach. After this quick time out from our sponsors, we'll be back with the legendary and great Phil Beckner. Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. So excited to be with my friend Phil Beckner today. Phil, man, it's been a long time since we've been doing this stuff, but I'll tell you what, you are just ascending and helping kids everywhere. Welcome, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. It has been a long time. Going back, I don't even know how many years now. We must be getting a little bit older.
But, tell me today, we're recording this. You're in beautiful Lawrence, Kansas, at the University of Kansas, one of the most iconic college programs in history, with incredible coaching staff. But the whole vibe at Kansas is different than so many schools, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. I've been lucky enough to meet Coach Self a long time ago. You and I got connected at a clinic, obviously, just being guys who want to learn and grow. And, I've got to know Coach Self, and I always tell him the first ever coaching video I watched was on VHS tape, and he was drawing up X's and O's on a projector. And so now to get out here and see like Allen Fieldhouse and watch them practice, and they have the rules of the game here. There's just such a mystere. I think every basketball coach, fan, like this should be one of the places that's like on their bucket list. Like you got to come to a game or something and check it out and, just see everything that goes on here.
I think one of the great things about Bill Self is that he had success with Bill Self is about, consistent, just having incredible consistency in the performance of him, his teams, and his players. I've been a huge fan of Bill's for years. What makes a great coach like him?
Just seeing him, coach and practice. Even back when I was with the, Oklahoma City Thunder a little bit with their G League team during All-Star break, I remember coming up and watching them practice. I just wanted to see practice. But I think the level of accountability that he holds his players to for exactly what he wants, like the level of effort, the level of concentration, the level of consistency. And I've seen 10 or 15 of his practices now, and it never wavers. He's going to hold them to that standard every single time.
One of the things that, you're now dealing with, you deal with pro players for years, but talk about when you're growing up in beautiful Buckeye, Arizona, going to Buckeye High School, did you ever dream that this is what life would turn into for yourself?
I appreciate that question because small town farming community, I grew up with somewhat of a tough childhood. And I always say it was my dream to like make the NBA. Like I thought I could make it, being a little 6'2" white kid who could shoot the ball a little bit. Looking back on it, I didn't think I'd be here. I mean, in a way, I am in the NBA working with these guys and seeing it day to day. And I'm not going to kiss your butt too much, okay? But here's what I'm going to say. Guys like you and Kevin Eastman, who've had a tremendous impact on me and my career ever since I was
need it nowadays, but go ahead.
But I went to your guys' first ever Coaching You Live event in Vegas when you guys started it. And I knew Kevin Eastman because I had seen his videos and, seen him at a clinic, and I was working for free at Weber, and I actually had to ask for a discount to get into the clinic because I couldn't afford it. And you guys gave me a discount, went to Vegas. But here's what really hits me. Here's what I wanted to say about like looking back on, man, did you ever think you'd be doing this? Like when Brendan Suhr's name pops up on my phone, or Kevin Eastman's name pops up on or a Doc Rivers, or Giannis called me last week. He and I I was just like, these guys' names are actually in my phone now. It's humbling, it's amazing, and super exciting, obviously. But I get to that point, or same thing. Like I know Bill Self. Like I still can't get over some of those things in the profession.
One of the things that I think that, you never skip steps, after, going to college and stuff, my goal was just, I want UB Brown was my high school coach, God bless him. And, and I wanted to be like him. I wanted to just be a high school coach. I went to school, PE major, wanted to come back, be a PE teacher and basketball coach at my old high school where he was, before he went on to college coaching. And I said, literally it never happened. But you came right out of college and you went back to old Buckeye High School and coached. How was that the stepping stone for what you did later?
I think it was a way for me to find my coaching voice. And this is something, and again, I'm a clinic junkie. I'm probably going to mention this too much, just the relationship you and I've had, or other coaches influencing me along the way, us connecting at the Florida clinic. And I remember like I was adamant about getting the Chuck Daly isms from you. Like you mentioned a few speaking, and I'm like, we got to get them all. I need them all. I'm a 25-year-old young assistant at Weber. But before that, like you said, coaching high school, I was a PE teacher and I was a head high school JV coach. And what it allows you to do, and I think, like you said, too many coaches or even trainers now, they want to skip steps. It allowed me to find my coaching voice. I had a type of practice plan for a JV team. I took it as serious as if I was coaching the Lakers. I had to figure out a way to give a halftime talk. I had to figure out a way to organize maybe, the assistant coach that I had and his drill on one end. And my mentor has said this, and I know you've said this before. Like, there's no place to go to really become a coach. Like, you can't just go to the school of coaching. If you want to be a police officer, you go to the police academy. You want to be a doctor, you go to medical school. You can't just go to the school of coaching. You got to get out there and do it and get the reps in. And I think so many, and you're finding it now, even in the NBA and college, some guys get, pegged as just a development guy or just as a recruiter. And then when it's time to step up and lead a drill or be able to teach and communicate, they haven't had those experiences. And so I think coaching and teaching high school, whether it's, managing a classroom of 40 PE kids and teaching them soccer, or coaching a JV team and having to do the practice plan and coach and press break to offense, like, that's the experience a lot of people don't get if they just start out at the highest levels right away.
What led you to Weber State? To go from Buckeye to Weber State. I mean, not to. Who did you know? How did that happen? It's usually never through a resume. I always say I've never gotten a job in 55 years with a resume. It's usually by contacts, relationships. How did it happen for you?
Yeah, it was by contacts, but I'm going to add one more word to this, and I think it's what a lot of coaches fear, but it was also desperation. I wanted to coach college, or think I wanted to, so bad that I was willing to do anything. So when I got the job at Weber, it was director of basketball ops, but it was a little bit out of desperation because it wasn't a paid position. They just needed somebody who was young and single and who could, do the job and still pay the bills. So, but going back, my greatest probably coaching mentor is Russ Pennell. He coached all those years Division I. He head coach at Grand Canyon in Central Arkansas. I wanted to be him. Just like you said, you wanted to be Hubie Brown. I wanted to be Russ Pennell. He got out of Division I for a while. So when I was coaching high school in Arizona, he ran a basketball academy and an AAU team. And that was back before states had 70,000 AAU teams. There's only a couple in the state. So I would drive up and volunteer for him and help him with workouts or do little academy sessions. He knew Randy Ray at Weber State. His assistant, Mark Nelson, knew the assistant, Eric Duft, who's now the head coach at Weber State. So I remember I kind of had two options. New Mexico State at the time had a video coordinator job open, and I was maybe going to get it. I had to go work camp, and it would pay like $10,000. Before that, though, I went up to Weber State. I watched them in the Big Sky tournament. I, met the coaches. They had an opening, and this is so true, Brendan. I don't think I've ever told this. And I love Coach Ray, and obviously got promoted, and we had Damian Lillard, and we won championships. But I always remember I was like, "Hey, what got me over the hump to get the job? Like, why'd you pick me?" And he goes, "To be honest, Phil, Coach Duff just came and said, 'Hey, this guy will do it for free. He showed up for camp. Just give him the job.'" He goes, "So I did. Let's just give him a chance because he's the only one that could come and work for free for a year." And, kind of had a little bit of a Cinderella story after that, and it worked out really, really well.
Yeah, you got to really get a little experience with this kid from the Oakland Soldiers, a kid from Oakland that somehow found his way to freaking Ogden, Utah, right? And Dame Lillard. How does that connection go from this freaking guy from Buckeye, Arizona, and a kid from Oakland becoming so close and integral part of his development and success over the years?
Yeah, I think number one, I mean, we all got to realize it's bigger than us, because that, like, a story like that, I mean, God has to be intertwined somehow. The stars have to align somehow, because like he always says, he's like, "Phil, if you look at my story," he's like, it could be an ESPN 30 for 30 with what that guy has done, the type of person he is, the player he's become, the game winners he's made, being a top 75 player. Like, it really, really is a unique story. But I think what a lot of people don't realize about he and I is we grew up with similar backgrounds. Like, I went through a really kind of tough childhood, and, he grew up with some, rough stuff in Oakland. And the other similarity is we were both like huge WWE fans. Like, he loved Stone Cold. I loved the Ultimate Warrior. Like, so we could always talk about, we had one thing in common. But here's where it really happened. And I think this is looking back, I didn't know any better at the time because I was 25 years old coaching him. But looking back on it now, the advice I give younger players and younger coaches If you're ever trying to do something great, you want to do something really, really successful. And if you just run like really, really fast towards that level of greatness, if you just run towards that, run towards truth, run towards accountability, and you start looking around and seeing who's keeping up with you, that's going to tell you who to invest in and who to work with. Because I saw like some really good potential in him, but I wasn't afraid to tell him wasn't working hard enough. I wasn't afraid to tell him like he was screwing around as a freshman off the court a little too much. And he wanted to be great. I was a young assistant. I wanted to be great. We are both just running that direction. And so we started to develop a level of trust, and just, one level led to another level of, hey, let's do some extra shooting, to let's do some extra workouts, to before you know it, we're riding in a little shuttle going to the arenas or the gyms early before a game to put extra work in. But I think he was willing to run towards truth and accountability. I was trying to run towards some level of greatness and success. And luckily our paths collided at the right time.
Phil, what's allowed you and Dame to maintain this incredible relationship after he became a star? Because a lot of times when they become stars, real people, the not so real people, forget about how they got there. They forgot about the people that helped him. This tells me a lot about him as an individual, that he realized how important you are to him, and how together, as a coach, you help him. And that's got to be one of the most encouraging things for you as a coach, that someone like that would just be with you for his entire career, basically.
Yeah, I think you alluded to it. The compliment goes to him. It's his character and it's his level of loyalty that is really uncommon, at the pro level. And when you've had as much success as him and as much money as him and status as him, it's really easy to get sidetracked or distracted, whatever it may be. So one, I'm grateful for it, obviously, but just like anything, and I think this is what and why I love what you do so much, not only with this podcast, but with your clinics. Like, I think you're one of the few people that keeps coaching at a pure level. Like, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated all the time. It doesn't have to be success, status driven, ego driven all the time. Like, there's a purity to coaching no matter what level you're at. And that with Dame comes back to connection. We spend time together. At his old house, I used to stay there and watch his 2-year-old together. We break bread together. We eat together. And it doesn't mean we don't have fights and we don't get along. And there are plenty of times we don't get along very well at all. But when you get back to the root of why you stick with someone so long, or why you're allowed to push someone so much or challenge them or hold them accountable, it's because you have a deep level of trust and a deep level of connection. And I think that could easily be forgot about sometimes in the coaching profession.
One of the things that I actually try to teach young men when I work with college or pro players is that all the best pro players I've had, every one of them, for the most part, are all black. And every conversation I have with them, now many of them are in their late 50s or even early 60s. And every conversation with them, at the end of the conversation, they say to me, "Love you, coach. Love you." And I think one of the most important things as a coach is to unconditionally love your players, whether they're great players or not, or they never even get in a game, because they can tell. And I think we all had it ass backwards, because we were all taught in the old days, you got to be tough with these kids. And my friend John Gordon, who just texted me as we're talking, used to say to me, you got to love them before you can be tough with them. It's like your children, same deal, And I think that love that you and Dame have, and many of your other clients, I think that comes through, because then if someone loves you, then you can be honest and truthful with them. And if you're just trying to be their friend as a parent or as a coach, guess what? They take advantage of that. That's just my feeling. Over years, I've seen this.
I couldn't agree more. And if we look at like what a coach is supposed to do, I talk about this all the time. Like, here's how we define what a coach is. It's someone who could take another person to a place they maybe couldn't get to on their own. Like, we got to be on their side, helping them, along the way they might not be able to get to on their own. And that's one of the biggest questions too. They're like, man, white dude from Buckeye, black dude from Oakland. Like, how does this happen? Like, there's a true level of love there. Like, I've gone to Disneyland with Dame and his kids, like his even Anfernee Simons right now, who I train, in Boston. Like, his 2 year old, I would take him home with me if I could. Like, Ace is the cutest kid, runs to me, and I gotta tell this story if you don't mind. I think coaches and people will really get a kick out of this, because this is what makes Dame so special. I'm almost probably gonna see, I almost get choked up telling this, but he has baby Dame is now 6 or 7 years old. I think he's in the second grade, but he's having his second birthday party ever. And Brendan, like, these players, they're millionaires. So it's not a normal, hey, we got a cake, a few people over. Like, we pull up, Nurk is there, who plays for the Trouble, who's Bosnian. Race doesn't matter, color does. Nurk's there. The Trailblazers coaches are there. Terry Stott's staff. Like, it doesn't matter. There's just a deep feeling of love for Dame and baby Dame. You pull up to the house, there's not enough parking spots. Dame has valet people there parking the cars in his neighborhood. So we all go in, we're all celebrating. We get the birthday party's over. True story. I walk in the kitchen. Dame has a tremendous family, cousins, uncles, everybody. I'm the only white guy in there. I'm not even kidding. Baby Dame is 2 years old. He runs straight up to me. I pick him up, and they look at me like I'm from Mars. Like, who's this guy that's in the house? Like, the only white guy that's in the house. But, like, you get to this point when you truly love and care about your players and you work with them and you guys are deeply connected. Like, and one of your great friends, Gannon Baker, says this all the time, like, success and impact, it's gender free, it's, race free. Like, it doesn't matter, because there's a deep level of love and connection. You're just pouring into the individual or their family so much. And I always go back to that birthday party, because you had his coaches there, Nurk there, me there, and it was just truly a great environment. And it goes back to Dame's character and how much he impacts other people.
That is so cool. I've known Anfernee Simons since he was in College Park High School in Orlando when I was there as a high school kid. And I said, boy, he's going to be good. And the guy said, no, he's too thin. He's too this and that. Yeah, he's too thin, right? Yeah, what a player. Let me ask you about, let's get into some player development. You're one of the most elite player development. This is my opinion, and Kevin Eastman and other experts. You're one of the most elite coaches in the world at developing players. That is a term. You're really, I think we've evolved a term now, since you've guys like you have made it a cottage industry for thousands of other wannabes. But you're really a performance coach. You really help people perform better. You help players, teams, and coaches perform better. What specifically do you do with let's say an NBA player? Let's say, guys, a starter in the NBA, you do something with him as opposed to a rookie coming into the league or a kid getting ready for the draft. And then later we'll talk about some high school kids that you've worked with that are now college players. You approach every one of them. It's a customized curriculum for everyone. That's my point. It's not the same old drills that everyone does the same thing. You have to customize it to their talent and strengths, correct?
Absolutely. And I think that's what's missing in this newfound profession of trainers. Like, I don't like that term. I always say, like, we're all coaches. We're player development coaches. At the end of the day, we're still trying to make guys better. But when you're talking about working with an NBA starter to maybe an NBA rookie or a guy in pre-draft, the one thing that is the same, like you said, we customize everything. But the first point that we start with all of the guys, at least where they are at that current time, is who they are and who they're not. That's like such a big part in their development, knowing who they are, like Anfernee Simons. How when I started working with him, right when he got to the league, and like you said, he was super, super skinny, but we knew who he was at that time, and we knew who he was not. He wasn't going to be a starter. So we got to clearly define where they are at the starting point of working with them, and then I think the next part of development, the biggest difference between a career NBA guy, someone who's been doing it, and then a guy starting out, the career NBA guy, and this is just what we do. I know there's a lot of different approaches, but with the career NBA guy, we want to, one, build upon his strengths, and then two, find the places in his game where we could create an advantage or where we could make things easier for him. Even, a guy like Dame Lillard, who's 9 years in the league, can we continue? Everyone says evolve, but can we continue to get better and make things easier for him? Whether that's getting to his spots, knowing how to attack the pick and roll in a certain way, letting the game not only come to him, but letting him see the game to where he can manipulate it a little bit more. That's advanced. I think that's really advanced. With the younger players, and this is where I think we've had a lot more success with guys. With the younger players, we are trying to get them in the freaking game. We're trying to get them to the point where they're not getting subbed out. So they have to have an adequate skill level or conceptual level to, and Doc said this all the time in Philly and then in Milwaukee. With those role players or those young guys, he said, I always want to find the guy who could play with the stars. That was so dang good, and it was so important because Giannis and Dame were going to shoot the ball the most in Milwaukee the last couple of years. But can we get that young guy? Can we get his strength level, his conceptual development level maybe, or his skill set level good enough so he could actually check in an NBA game, play his role, but more importantly, be able to play with the stars while he's out there? And that's kind of the approach we start from and that we build from with those next level type guys.
When you had an opportunity, I want you to talk briefly, Phil, about what you and Dame do in the summer with actual pro. I think that's you talk about a guy giving back, but actually to help develop and train pro players, what you guys do with them. I've always thought that was something that was needed, literally a camp for existing pro players. Because for some guys, it's frankly just getting in the game, nowadays with 15 players on your roster. And most quote unquote player development guys, not yourself, all they work on is step back jumpers and different stuff in the off season for 5 months. But the problem with those guys, unfortunately, is the kid, he can't guard anyone. He can't keep the ball in front of him. He can't pass. He can't move without the ball, et cetera, et cetera. And what are we doing to help the player learn the whole game? It's not just shooting.
Yeah, Dame and I, it was probably, I don't know how many years ago, right before COVID started. We would watch games, or he would have some young guys on his roster who wanted to work out with him and train with us and kind of learn what he was doing. But then we also saw, and this is stuff you've preached forever, we also saw some guys not staying in the league, or some dudes who should have made the NBA because of their character or because of their level of immaturity, or, just not having the right people around them. And so I remember Dame and I would always kind of send each other different tweets or comments, or maybe someone's kind of acting a fool on social media. And it just got to the point where he was like, hey, we need to do something about this. Like, we need to help these guys. So 4 years ago, we started Formula Zero, just kind of our formula for training. And we started an elite high school college camp. And here's what it really turned into. We had certain guys, maybe they were private clients of mine, or guys around the league who would write Dame on Instagram or whatever, be like, hey, I want to train with you. How did you, become such a good pick and roll player? How is your conditioning so good? Man, how do you hit all these game winners and Dame time and, all? And so the first year of doing this high school and college elite camp, and Coach Suhr, you're going to freaking love this. We got to get you out sometime. Just come out for a day or two and watch it, hang out, talk to the guys or something. It's basketball at an extremely pure level. But we had 7 or 8 pros year one. And then year two, so many of the pros wanted to come. We had to just start a pro camp. So we brought 20 guys out, a few vets, a few rookies. We brought some of Dame's past coaches out, and we really just tried to pour into these guys on and off the court for one sole purpose. And this is kind of like the mantra now. And I've even started working with some of these younger, college guys or high school guys, at the camp. But we believe it has gotten easier and easier to make the NBA, but it's gotten harder and harder to stay in the NBA. These dudes aren't getting a second and third contract. They're not able to play in the game and check in the game and stay in the game. So as much as their talent has got them there and it's become easier to make the NBA, it's gotten way harder to stay. And that's why we started, the camp. We do a little pro camp for 3 days, and then we do a high school college camp for 4 days and try to pour into these guys both on and off the court.
Where do you do that at, Phil? Where do you have the camp?
We did it in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where it's been the last 3 years. First year we did it in Portland, but a little bit easier location to get to. All the players complain about how hot it is because we do it in August, so it's about 1:15 when they get off the plane.
That's okay though. That's all right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Phil. If there's now the high school kids think that 1 year in college, I'm ready for the pros. I'll be 19. I'll be ready for the pros. And then they come in the pros. They get drafted, but then they tell them they have to go to the G League, or they tell them they can't play because they don't have the skill set. They're not strong enough. They don't have the maturity. They're skipping steps, obviously, to get in. I get it. But every now and then, we all see a phenom. We all see, once in a while, a Cooper Flag, a Dylan Harper, guys like that come in. They're pretty much they're ready. Talk about the young man that you're working with, that I've followed closely now for the last year and a half, from the University of Kansas, Darren Peterson.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed working with them. The cat's kind of out of the bag now. I like to keep it quiet. I don't like to tell everyone who I'm working with, and don't post every client on social media or any of that. There was just a Sports Illustrated article that came out last week about him, though, and it mentioned it was kind of the first time I somewhat ever broke my rule of like, hey, I'm going to, other than working with pre-draft guys or NBA guys, I'm going to invest in a younger dude. Darren Peterson was a guy who got invited to Formula Zero, our camp, a guy you and I both know. His agent had reached out and said, hey, Phil, he's already in LA. I know camp doesn't start until Wednesday. You guys are doing your pro camp. And he said, this kid is just chomping at the bit to work out with Damian Lillard. Would you ever let him work out with Dame? If he's going to be in Phoenix early, can he get some gym time? But also, if it's possible, could he work out with Dame? And this is where, people get a kick out of this. As much as Dame and I want to help guys, Dame also doesn't like a lot of people working out with him because people can't keep up, or they walk around too slow, or they take too long with their reps. He's super, super competitive. But what we say is like, hey, you know what? We'll do a little shooting session with Darren, let Dame and Darren, and they're both like Adidas clients. Darren has an NIL deal with Adidas, and so does Dame, so it's great for them. But here's the coolest thing about working with Darren Peterson, because you hear about all these kids who've been highly ranked or get all this attention, and he is one of the most humble, hardworking kids. I say kids because he's so young, that I've ever been around. Like his dad, Daryl, his mom, Natasha, they have raised that dude so freaking good. I mean, their parents and his dad used to work him out. It actually mentioned in the article, you'll love this because you love, coaching sayings. His dad used to kick him out of the gym in 5th and 6th grade and say like, hey, if you're not going to work hard at this, don't be a pro basketball player. Go be a fireman then. Nothing wrong with being a fireman nowadays. So this kid had been coached, and I know I'm going on with this story, but I got to tell you this. So he works out with Dame and I. We're in Phoenix. His camp hasn't started yet. This is the kid. I think he's ranked #1 in the country at the time. So, most we think #1 kids, they've had their butt kissed. They have all these Instagram followers. Dad's in the front seat with me. We're driving back to the hotel. And I go, Darren, what do you think of the workout? He goes, man, I loved it. I see why Dame's so good. I see why everyone wants to train with you, Phil. I'm like, yeah, you worked your butt off. Great job. And he goes, when I make the NBA, will you work with me? And I go, do you know you're like the number one kid in the country? Like, how, there's just trainers lined up begging to work with him and begging to have a chance. And he's asking if I would work with him. So here's what we did. And I think coaches should hear this story too, because it takes a commitment from the coach as much as it does from the player. So he's going to go play his senior year at Prolific Prep, and he says he wants to get better. And he asked me to train him. Dad asked me to train him. I said, well, I want to see if this kid is committed. I said, let's watch film every other week for a month or two, and let's see what he does. Coach Suhr, he's 17 years old. He texted me every single week we were supposed to watch film. Didn't miss a time, was ready for the topics, would remember the stuff. So then I started training him behind the scenes a little bit last year. I go see him once a month. He trained with us a whole bunch this summer in Phoenix, and now I go see him, once or twice a month in Kansas. And it's just kind of that same formula. We're going to watch film. We're going to talk about our mentality. We're going to work on our character. We're going to work on our game. And again, the kid just does it with a level of professionalism that's beyond his years, and a level of humility and hunger that's beyond his years. And he's a special one, man. I'm really lucky to get to work with him and the type of family that he has. Like, be around those people, it's really, really cool.
When you have a young man like that, this is a key thing, I think, for someone like yourself who's a superstar pro. You understand the alignment between the coaching staff that he's playing for and yourself has to be there.
Oh my God.
How do you integrate that?
Coach Suhr, that's the question. That's why you're so good at what you do. That's what our training profession needs. I might not have the perfect answer, so I would love to hear your feedback after I give mine. But you have to be connected with the staff, aligned with the staff, and see, you're smiling and laughing, but like, might sound old school, but like, I don't care what Phil Beckner says. He plays for Bill Self. If we don't get it right for Bill Self, it doesn't matter, because Bill Self's the one subbing him in games, writing up the practice plan, drawing up the plays. And too many, and I'm sorry to say that, I'm probably going to piss some people off who are listening, too many of these BS trainers, or like you said, the wannabes, they make it all about them and their ego and their social media posts and what they're going to do. I think this, and again, I don't know if I'm one of the best player development coaches out there or not. I do think I get different results, or at times better results, than some other people, simply because of this. I'm willing to do what others won't. Seriously, like, I'm willing to do what others won't. I will listen to a head coach. When I was a consultant with Doc for the 76ers, and I had a few young guys, I was supposed to fix their shooting and help them with their skill development. Doc still wanted to have them do a couple other things first. Like, hey, Phil, he needs to work on his cutting for 10 minutes. Well, guess what I did? Even though I'm the shooting guru, we worked on cutting for 10 minutes. I'm sure when you worked for Chuck Daly, if he told you to do something with Isaiah Thomas, you damn sure were going to do it, because that's what the head coach says. And anyone listening, I hope that young trainers and young coaches don't miss this. When you buy into that, and you have that level of alignment, you will get better results with your player than other people. And that's what you are getting paid to freaking do. You are getting paid to get better results with that player than anyone else can. And if you can't get aligned with that staff, and you can't communicate the same vision or the same standards, it's going to be turmoil. It won't work.
Yeah. There's process and there's outcomes. Right. And the process is what Bill Self and his staff want of how Darren Peterson's going to play for them offensively, in my opinion. So if Bill wants him to work on being able to push the ball down the court, be able to come off a drag screen, or be able to take his man off the dribble, a la Steve Nash, and get in the lane and make plays and spray the ball out. If he wants him to be able to come off floppy type screens, be able to get and then create whatever to make their offensive system style of play fit into the things you can work with him in his extra time that they might not get to do. That is how that's the alignment, the verticality I think needs to take place. You're a basketball coach first. You're not a trainer. And so I think you understand all the nuances of coaching. And I think that is so important, Phil.
Yeah, and that's where too, going back to that, and this is you could probably hear the passion in my voice start to raise up right now because I get so excited about these things. Um, Coaches don't get that. Like, where do you get that experience though? Like, where do you get it? If I didn't meet you and Coach Eastman at the Florida clinic, or if we didn't, if I wasn't able to study under certain people that way, how do you ever get that experience? There's no place to go and get it. And I think ultimately, if you could figure those things out and have enough humility to continue to get better or put the player first, you're going to get results that few people get.
Humility is an amazing word, isn't it?
Hard
You
word.
know, I think humility is something, if you're really great, you don't have to tell anyone. It's like, people talk about religion and they say, well, I'm a very devout, whatever. Well, if you are, you just lead your life that way. You don't have to tell anyone you are. They will know by your actions. And that's the same thing in coaching. Don't tell me I have great relationships with their. I've never said once in 50 years, I have great rapport with my players. I don't say that. The players will tell you whether I do or not, But when you walk in to work with a player, whether it's Dame or Darren Peterson or anyone in between, you come in with incredible competency, amazing credibility, and then the ability to connect. And those are the three things that are so darn important now to be able to give them competence, credibility, and then the connectivity that you have with that. Because with connectivity comes love, trust, all those things that make for a great relationship, which is, I've never coached successfully a player that I didn't have a good relationship with because they didn't believe in me if I didn't have a good relationship with them. But I think that's what makes you, Phil Beckner, such an amazing performance coach, is that you have the whole package, so to speak. And I think that is, Phil, that is what is missing. When you're working with, let's say you went in with a team, not an individual, what advice do you give young people today? Let's say they're a men's college team.
Yeah. So it's two things. One, I would look at that. First of all, that was phenomenal. I wrote that down. Competency, credibility, and connection. Like those three C's. That is really, really good. I've never heard it framed that way. That was really, really good. I wrote that down. But I think two things. When you go work with a team, because now I've done it as a consultant. I've probably spoke to 5 or 6 Division I teams this year. A couple years ago, I worked with the Sixers. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be really, really vulnerable. The first part I used to really, really screw up about 4 years ago because I'd go in as this great guest speaker or this great consultant, and I wanted to think I gotta give them everything I know and my culture, my standards, my beliefs. Like and where I had to grow, like I said, 5 years ago, it is actually with an AAU team. I walked in and I'm like, hey, their culture is different and I could still serve them well. Their culture is different, and I could still help them or motivate them or drive them to an extremely high level. So I think being able to, one, when you go work with a team as an outsider, the word, and we just talked about humility, but the word I try to use even more that most young coaches and me, I turned 43 this month, but I'm trying to grow in, is an extreme level of awareness, an awareness of what they're going through, what they believe in, what they're about, how they go, about their day, how they train. It's not always going to be your way or what you believe in. So trying to increase my level of awareness. The second part that I think teams really need to hear is how others have kind of become successful. Like what our formula was, what makes Dame, or a guy like Giannis, or a guy I've worked with, Mikal Bridges, who's never missed an NBA game. Like knowing and hearing his story. And here's where
That's incredible.
Mikel's such a winner, and I tell his story when I speak to teams. It's so powerful. But this is where like I want to slap my hand on the desk and and lead with passion and lead with conviction. because when those players and those coaches, they want to know the formula or the word like process, like you said. They want to know the stories, but here's what I think they really got to know is that it's attainable. You might not be top 75 all time. You might not win a championship every year, but this level of success or these traits or these standards that these players live up to or the coaches hold them accountable to, they are attainable. It's not some fairy tale land that people can't accomplish things. So when I talk about Mikal or and that's why told you I talked to Giannis on the phone. I tell a story about 3 years ago. Giannis brought me out to train him, and coach, both of our flights were delayed. Here's a long story short, and it's so powerful. I sent Giannis the video of the talk. We both got to Milwaukee almost at 11:30 at night, and we were supposed to work out that night. It was the first night of his off season. We walked down. I see him at the baggage claim. He flew American. I was Southwest, and I just asked him. I said, Giannis, what time do you want to work out? And he's like 1. And I thought he meant 1 the next day, and he meant 1 a.m. that night. And we got to the gym, and I said, Giannis, why are we going at 1 a.m.? You could have slept in. We land at 11:30. You get your bags. It's 30-minute ride to his house. And he's ready to start at 1. And he said this, and it's so good for players. And this is what, I work with some of these teams and tell them. Giannis looked at me and he said, Phil, when I make a deal with myself, I don't negotiate. And I was just like, holy cow, how many times do we negotiate with ourselves about success? So it's telling these college players, these corporate executives that I speak to, whatever, these type of stories, but then letting them know that it is attainable. That like, hey, we want great results. Well, we're going to stop negotiating with ourselves. And people know Giannis, and me and him just talked about this, but they know him as the MVP and the world champion. But Brendan, they forget that like the best, and he showed me the trophy in his office. You know what trophy he had before any of those? Most improved player in the NBA. Then he got defensive player of the year. Then he got MVP. Then he got champ. Like people miss that type of stuff. So that's what I try to share with a lot of these groups, and then combine it with the strategies that they could use to implement it in their own life.
That, my friend, those are nuggets. I'm not sure we can get better than that, but I'll tell you what, the basketball world is better having 43-year-old Phil Beckner in it. I was once 43, Phil. Remember that, you're so special, and it's such an honor to have you on. And we have so many high school, college, and professional coaches, men and women, all over the world that listen. And trust me, the things that you shared today are things that make coaches better because it is attainable. It is attainable what you shared today, and I really appreciate that. Coaching You was formed by Kevin and I because we couldn't come up with a name forever. We're dealing with all these BS names, and all of a sudden Kevin said to me, he said, Brendan, he said, where there's no place to go learn. He said, I wish we were a university. And I said, what the hell will we call it? Coaching University? He said, Coaching You. And it was a play on words in that we're going to coach, be an educational thing, which we've really evolved into in a big way. But then we really want to coach you. Just like you're coaching other people, we want to coach Phil. We want to coach Billy Donovan. We want to coach John Gordon. We want to coach anyone in any field to become great, which is attainable if you really work your ass off on it. So you are an inspiration to me. I feel humbled to have you on. It's way overdue, my friend, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah, Coach, thanks to you. I would encourage you, like I said, going back to the very first Coaching You event ever. I'll fight you if you ever quit doing this stuff because it's so good. I know you get complimented all the time, but thanks for all you've done for me and all you do for the game, and appreciate you having me.
Well, that means I'm going to book you right now for next July to come and speak in Vegas for us. Okay, that would be an honor of mine that you came. That would be awesome.
That would be, to be honest, that'd be a bucket list for me. I'll buy you dinner if you bring me out there. That would be awesome. Thank you.
Well, no, we'll get Doc Rivers, Giannis, or those guys to pay for dinner. But we will go to dinner that night. That'll be awesome. That'll be
hey,
super.
that'll be podcast number 2, which we'll talk about how cheap half these players are too. They don't buy as many meals, which you know. And if you're a good coach and you want to connect, I buy them meals most of the time, anyways. But that's a whole nother topic.
When I came in the league, 1979, Magic Bird and myself, NBA per diem was $28 a day. 28 a day. I thought, man, I thought I hit the lottery. Well, hey, thanks again, Phil. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks.